Chapter 3, Mishnah 1. This chapter discusses items that are not subject to the biblical laws of Me'ilah, but are nevertheless forbidden for benefit. In most, if not all of these situations, the prohibition for benefit is rabbinic. The following Mishnah deals with the 5 chataos that are left to die. Generally, offerings that are unusable are left to graze until they develop a disqualifying blemish and are then sold or redeemed with money. These 5 chatas offerings are an exception to this rule. In these situations, halacha leMoshe Sinai, a law taught orally to Moshe at Sinai and passed down through the generations, teaches that they cannot be redeemed even after developing a blemish, and must instead be left to die. The Mishnah discusses whether the laws of Me'ilah, as well as some other laws, apply to these chataos. We now turn to the words of the Mishnah. The offspring of a chatas, the temura, substitution of a chatas, and a chatas whose owner died before it was offered, are all left to die. They cannot be left to graze until they become blemished, as is done with other unfit korbanos. The Mishnah has listed 3 of the 5 chatas that are left to die. The next 2 cases in the Mishnah we'll discuss both involve chatas offerings that were lost. In addition to getting lost, they also became disqualified, each in a different way. While they were lost, the owner consecrated another animal to use in place of the lost chatas. However, before he offered it, the original chatas was found. Thus, he now has 2 chatas animals, his original chatas, which is now disqualified, and the animal he consecrated to replace it. Their law depends on certain complicated conditions. A chatas whose year has passed, i.e. it is more than a year old, and it got lost and was later found. And similarly, a chatas that got lost and was later found with a blemish, and while these chatas were lost, the owner designated another chatas to use instead. The law is as follows. If, after finding the lost chatas, the owner atoned for his sin with the second chatas, the original chatas is left to die. Since in both of these cases the original chatas had 2 defects, it was lost and it became either too old or blemished, and the owner atoned for his sin with a different chatas, the original chatas must be left to die. Such a chatas does not make a temura, that is, if the owner tried to substitute another animal for it, the second animal does not become temura and has no holiness, and one may not benefit from it. But if he did benefit from it, he is not liable to a korban for Me'ilah, since a chatas that must be left to die can neither be offered nor be sold for money that will be used to buy another korban. It has lost its korban holiness. Therefore, it cannot make temura and is not subject to the law of Me'ilah. Nevertheless, one is forbidden to benefit from it by rabbinic decree. The laws we just learned are for a case where, after finding the chatas that was either blemished or past its year, the owner offered the other chatas. However, if he did not yet offer the other chatas, he has another option. But if the owner did not yet atone for his sin with the replacement chatas, and he wants to make use of the original chatas, it should be left to graze until it develops a blemish, and it should then be sold, and the owner should bring another chatas with its money. Since the owner of the chatas did not yet atone for his sin when it was found, and he wants to make use of its value now, it is not one of the chataos that must be left to die. It is simply an invalid chatas, since it is more than a year old or it has a blemish. Since these chataos can be sold once they are blemished and are not left to die, they are subject to the regular laws of korbanos, as the Mishnah now explains. This chatas makes a temura, that is, if the owner tries to substitute another animal for it, the substitute becomes sanctified as a temura, and it is subject to Me'ilah, that is, it is biblically forbidden to have any personal benefit from it, and if someone does derive benefit from it, he must bring an asham to atone for the sin of Me'ilah. Since this chatas can eventually be sold and its money used for a different chatas, its korban holiness remains. Therefore, the laws of temura and Me'ilah apply to it.